The Journey.
Joining us today on The Journey is Alessandra. She is a speaker, author of A New Banana and Desperado and Meditation Guide. She was born in Milan, raised in New York, and is now residing in Europe again. Alessandra works with private clients and companies to identify strategic shifts in their relationships and environments, which allow them to find greater satisfaction in life. So, welcome to The Journey, Alessandra.
Thank you so much, David, for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, as I said pre-interview start, everyone has a journey, and every journey obviously has a start. So, what was your earliest memories of your journey where you are now? So, your earliest memory.
Gosh, so it's interesting how you phrase that because and it's true, there is a journey within a journey, which led me to here. And I would argue that I'm still on that journey, even though perhaps I've gone through somewhat of an awakening, which led me to change my life and embrace all sides of me in my work today. But I'll go into sort of what started the journey within the journey, which is what most people would consider helpful for growth and how to maybe recognize whether or not they're at the beginning of theirs or in the middle or at the end. So I would say I started realizing that I was not happy and I did not know what that was. And I did not know why. I just knew that I was not happy. And this was in my early years in my career when my life was working out. I had a nice apartment, I had a good job, I had wonderful friends, and everything on my external level was appearing to be just fine. And so that initial discomfort was quite easy to muffle in the early part because you're also surrounded by people who lead a similar lifestyle. You're validating one another with your actions. We're talking about my mid 20s, so most people around are still single, and there was a lot of fun in between those moments of unidentifiable discomfort. And eventually, we can say that it was in sort of an incubator phase for about 8 or 9 years. And so the real start of the journey happened, like many who had an awakening, during COVID. And when COVID happened for me in Italy, which was quite a dramatic, albeit appreciated reaction to something that could have been devastating, which was I was alone. I was alone in my house. I had been recently in a relationship. I had broken up. Well, we had mutually ended a relationship of 4 years. And I was living in a city that I did not want to permanently stay in, a very small city in Italy with very few friends and very few outlets, although that didn't even matter because we were home in the house. And for the first time in my life, I didn't even have anything external to grab onto from which to basically define my own worth by. And that was terrifying. That was so terrifying that I actually contemplated what it might be like not to even be here. I wouldn't have done anything, but I was very close, and I reframed my position on anyone who thinks that today. And so I was miserable. I mean, I was miserable in my own skin. And I actually called the police that day, trying to get resources and help. And it was quite a dramatic day, which ended with a friend of mine just mentioning to me if I was interested in trying a meditation. And at the time, I had nothing to lose, so I began meditating. And for 1 hour per day, I was following these guided meditations that were available by this beautiful woman who was offering them to anyone who might need them. And within a few days, I suddenly felt my connection with myself for the first time, I would think, in my whole adult years. And when that happened, it was like a light went through my body. It was like 1,000 times 1,000 angels were shining through me. And it was only about a second or two, but I think I still feel it today when I look back. It's a connection that never severed. And that was the start of a new day, of a new life, of a new perspective for me. And immediately following that meditation, I wanted to write down how I felt and just confirm to myself really that this was true, pinch myself in a way. I felt so good. I felt so connected. And of course, I continued to meditate and I continued to write thoughts, and I started sharing them with people because they were pleasant, happy ways of seeing the world, solutions based on love rather than fear, we could say. And that was the beginning of the journey that I'm on today. That was what led me to eventually put together a book, my first book, which is founded by some of these initial realizations that I had during this crisis that turned into an awakening. And I was working in a corporate job, so I had a traditional lifestyle still for a couple of years to go. But during that time, I remained faithful to my practice as much as was right for me and continued to evolve and discover new things on the journey of life. So, so here we are today. I've written 2 books. I'm starting a company. I try to give people even pro bono help and advice and clients anywhere I can find them. I'm here to help if I have the energy for it. So this is my new life. I've left my earlier job, and but I have nothing against actually the corporate world. I do work with companies, and my perspective is that many of us might be asleep and walking a path that we are discontent with, and maybe blaming, like I did at the time, things that were easy to grasp onto, such as our jobs or our surroundings and the people around us. But really, it is an inner journey. And I know the company suffering quite well. I know the feeling of of externalizing blame and feeling stressed out and uncomfortable and wanting more and more and more because we don't feel like we have enough inside. And so today I work with companies and their employees to help them see more value in themselves and also contribute from a more productive space, from a better heart space, the work that they do for the company.
And going back to what you're saying about yourself, about the self-discovery when you did the meditation. Now, I'm not any expert in this, so I might be saying this wrong, but when you do have that inner belief, when you do meditate, it does not happen automatically straight away because obviously it has to get into the body. But when it does go into you, it is the inner glow. I always believe that is the push that makes you say, yes, I can. And there is a poem I read many times over the years to several people myself when I want to inspire them. And it is, you can if you think you can. So is that the inner push that pushed you more as well because you knew you could do it?
So we always receive the message and the support that we are meant to receive that resonates for us. And what you've just stated, so simply recognizing that we can do something, can flip the switch, that is one part of it. I would say in my case, I actually just needed to feel myself. I needed to feel that I was there. It's very hard to, I'll try to explain, but it's hard to explain. But in my case, I truly just was not satisfied with just about anything because, to be honest, life is meaningless if we don't have ourselves.
Yeah.
This whole experience is for us. It really is an inner journey. And when you don't have that foundational connection, which for me was the first puzzle piece to start building something authentic and real, you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, you don't know whether or not you can do it or not. You still don't know what you want and who you are.
Yeah. And
And
you're
so you just
constantly
do
going in
things.
circles.
Right. And you do things because others do things. You do things because they make sense, because financially they are wise, because they align with society's definition of what might be ambitious. And you go through those steps, and it's a little bit of an illusion. And so I think what you're mentioning, for some people, it could be their first wake up call. Some people might just need the confidence boost, and or they might start from there. In my case, it really needed to start from, okay, do I feel good in my body? And that's what I received. And mind you, every single time I meditate is not, or anyone I believe is not that transformative of a situation on a daily basis. However, when the moment finds you and you need that moment, it's coming from you and your support team and any astral miraculous beings that might be a part of your planetary beliefs.
So you wrote these down. Was it like in a journal, or just you wrote down what you actually found at that time?
It was a series of realizations across macro topics. So finally recognizing that we hold the solution within, reframing our perspective, what power means in a relationship dynamic. So basically, all of it had to do with relationship to self initially, and then more and more insights started to pour through as well with regards to relationships to others. So once you change yourself, the way you appear towards others, of course, changes. Your friendships and relationships need some recalibrating. By definition, some people fall off and new people get attracted. So there's a lot of shifts that happen when you shift.
And in the corporate world, as we all know, people's ways of working shifts daily because it can't be all the same consistent all the time.
Yes, and in the workplace, we are working with so many people that all have their own stories that each bring in that energy of their lives into the workplace. So when you're emailing Tom or John, you don't know what's going on at their house. You don't know what's happening in their family. You don't know what happened in their childhood and why they may or may not react to something that for you is a neutral thing. And so it's easy to rub shoulders against others. And on top of it, when we are wounded or when we are missing connection towards ourselves, we tend to trigger others in the same or compatible places that they're triggered and wounded by. And a lot of toxic dynamics in the workplace take place this way.
Yeah. So I was reading into your bio as well, obviously, and this is why we talk about links, but you help people, you've written books, and obviously it's available on most, sites where you can, which I'll put in the description when I've finished it. But do you believe your books are helping people now understand themselves more? When you go to the corporate workplace, do you see the change in people from when you first met them?
Yes, I do. So the first book is actually not fully about work. So it's really just about relationships and coming down to your core self. My perspective while writing it was someone in the workplace, but I would say it expands to just about anyone who may have maybe some issues with anxiety or low loneliness or disconnection from self, or perhaps dating and not reaching any conclusion in that department. So there's also a whole section about dating in that book. And the second book, Desperado, is actually 12 different states of frustration that we might go through in our lives, and then 3 uplifting chapters, or they're all uplifting, but essentially that is more a guide towards how to transform when certain emotions come up in the moment, and how to neutralize them and move forward, and at least alchemize on that pain. And it includes 15 guided meditations, which people can download online and they can do in the workplace because they don't require lying down. And they're just 5 to 7 minutes long. My work with companies is totally different. I'm actually putting together the business plan right now and updating my website on that. And that's going to be a whole other series of work meditations that are going to be offered to companies. And I also do frequency attuning meditations, which create this very interesting space for attracting very, very good things following them. And I offer those at conferences and speaking events and at different company gatherings as well.
Mm-hmm. So moving into the future, how do you see yourself going for your own development?
So it's interesting because I just see myself continuing to grow and expand as the person that I am. I don't want to change the sides of me that came to this point. So I want to always remain real. I would love to be able to help more and more people as they need to be, because we can't help those who don't want to be. So, but I'm always here for anyone who needs a pep talk or a conversation or something to strategically unravel and discuss. And really, that's the gist of it. I mean, I don't see myself being any different.
And obviously, you got an email address, which I'll still put in the description. But can you tell the listeners, viewers, your email address, how they can get in contact if they want to reach out to you?
Sure. So my website has a lot of contact forms that are quite easy, and they directly go to my inbox. And that's www.holyshiver.com, or on Instagram, holy_shiver. Those are some great ways to get in touch with me, and also view more information about how you can access the free meditation. I have 18 free meditations that people can go through. So, and they are pretty helpful in an acute moment of stress. I've sent them to some clients while they were having panic attacks, and really were effective in regulating the nervous system and talking someone out of discomfort feelings. So Instagram or my website would be fantastic ways to get in touch with me.
Okay, and the last question. If you was to talk to someone now and give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Stay in your energy. Remember that you have everything you need to get through. And if you feel in those moments that you need more, reach out to someone, because nothing in the world beats a good friend who lets you non-judgmentally speak exactly how you're feeling. Don't judge your judgment. Don't doubt your doubts, or do doubt your doubts. Don't judge your judgment. And remember that it is one long, distant journey into the answers. And every single moment is perfect, and you're exactly where you're meant to be having the realization that you're having right now.
Alessandra, thank you for sharing your journey. May the blessings carry on with your work, and I hope it carries on inspiring others for many, many years to come.
And you too, David. Thank you for this conversation.
That was The Journey, hosted by David Hackett. Produced and edited by Wise Words Imaging, all rights reserved.